Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining us for this brief webinar to introduce the brand new InGenius 5 system from Syngene. My name's Martin Biggs and I'll be hosting the presentation, just running you through the introduction of the new system, showing you the hardware, more importantly, showing you the brand new software that we have on this system. The InGenius 5 is Syngene's entry-level system, most basic unit for the molecular biology marketplace. It's designed as a very simple to use gel dock system for imaging DNA gels and visible proteins. As it's the most basic system and entry-level unit, this system has a 5 million pixel non-cooled manual camera. So at the top here, we have our manual 5 million pixel CMOS camera attached to a manual lens. The lens on this system is manual, so we do all of the controls of the lens, the iris, and the focus manually by hand. The unit is designed to be very, very simple to use, but it's very flexible in terms of its applications as well. So as I mentioned, we can do DNA gels. We can do visible proteins if we have the white light converter screen. We can also image gels with stain-free. Stain-free is a brand new addition to this unit. So stain-free gels are utilizing, a number of manufacturers have their version stain-free now. Essentially, stain-free is used for imaging proteins on a gel where there's no requirement for staining. So the gel matrix has a tryptophan molecule that you expose to UV light for a specific amount of time, and then you can visualize. And the InGenius 5 can do this. I should have said right at the start of the presentation that we have a Q&A function within the presentation. So if any questions arise during the presentation, please feel free to add those into the Q&A, and I'll cover those at the end. And hopefully the presentation should only take around 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. So we're not going to keep you here all day. So as I mentioned, we have our camera and our lens. You'll notice on the front of this instrument that we no longer have any buttons for turning on the lighting. The lighting is all controlled via the brand new software that we have on the InGenius. The old style InGenius 3 used to have buttons where we turn on and off the UV lighting and the white lighting, but this is now gone. So the only contact that you have with the system is literally controlling the camera, the zoom, the iris, and the focus. The darkroom, a major addition to this, is the darkroom now has a complete solid door rather than a slidey door that we used to have on the InGenius 3. So it's a proper solid door, and it gives us real good access into the transilluminator area inside the darkroom. You'll also notice that we have Epi white light built in as standard. Inside the darkroom, we have our transilluminator. Now, the transilluminators are always purchased as a separate part. And this is purely for the fact that we have different sizes of transilluminator and different wavelengths. So depending on what your application is, will depend on which transilluminator that you can choose. The most common is a medium wave transilluminator, 302 nanometers. But we do have two different sizes that can fit inside the InGenius. The InGenius 5, we actually have the ability to view 20 centimeters by 24 centimeters. So quite a large viewing area for actually quite a compact system. So you might notice that the footprint of the InGenius 5 is actually very slim, quite a little bit slimmer than the old style InGenius 3. But our guys in development have actually managed to give us a larger viewing area. So you have a choice of either having a 20 by 20 transilluminator or a 20 by 24, depending on the largest gel that you may want to image. So the fact that you have that extra bit of flexibility will really help with the unit. So the transilluminator just simply connects at the back and it slides in and out. So nice, easy accessibility for placing your gels. If you want to do any cutting of bands, then the system is designed to be safe, of course. So when the UV light is turned on, when the door opens, the UV light will turn itself off. but we do have the ability to override that UV safety function. So if you want to do any cutting of bands from your gels, then of course you can do that on the system. We have to tell the software that we will activate the UV override, and then we have a safety switch here that we can pull out, and then that will allow the UV light to turn on. So we've got the ability to do that within the unit. Of course, if you are going to do any kind of cutting utilizing the UV light, please make sure you're wearing your full PPE. We don't want anybody getting exposed to UV unnecessarily. As I mentioned, if you are working with a visible protein such as Kumasi blue, silver staining, then you could just simply utilize the optional white light converter screen, which would sit on top of the transilluminator as such, and you're all good to go. And we also have the option of our blue converter screen as well, which again will sit on top of the UV. So you're getting maximum flexibility from the system depending on your application. So that, again, the white and blue screens can be purchased at any time in the future and just utilized as you're good to go. The UV filter on the system is actually mounted already in front of the camera. If for any reason you maybe need to change that filter, maybe to a short pass filter if you do want to work with longer wavelengths, it's just a simple matter of unscrewing the UV filter and replacing it with a short pass filter. So it's a 2-second job. Does not require a service engineer to do that. So I can close the transilluminator, close the door. So the system itself designed to be very simple. We only have 2 leads coming from the back that will connect into your PC. And I should say as well, the PC does not have to come from us by any means. You can run it pretty much on any PC. The software is not over hungry for memory. What I'll do now is I'll move and share my screen, and I'll show you the software. Now, the software that we are using on the InGenius 5 has been written specifically for this system. In the old style InGenius 3, we used to have our Genesis package, which we still have, but Genesis was very feature heavy. And for a basic system, we felt that it actually had too many features. It required quite a lot of learning. Whereas the InGenius 5, we've decided to strip it right back and make it a very, very easy to use platform. So that anybody, any student can come on and be capturing an image very quickly. So from our home page, you'll see we have capture an image or edit an image. Edit an image will just simply open up an image that we already have. But if I move to capture an image, you'll see that it just brings up my live platform. So these are my capture parameters. I have my light type, my application, exposure, and then my capture settings here. So if I want to tell the system to go live with a transilluminator, I just have a little drop down. I click on UV transilluminator, and now because the door is closed, the UV light will now turn on. So I'm looking at my live gel utilizing UV. I can increase my exposure time simply by clicking increasing the exposure time here, and then you'll see the image will get much brighter. And if I need to change the iris, I can increase the iris size and you'll see that things get brighter. I can adjust my zoom and I can adjust my focus, of course. When we're working with a live image, I have the option to turn on my saturation detection. If I turn on saturation detection, this will now show me any part of the image that is saturating. Again, if I increase the exposure time a little, you'll see that I now start to see red on the screen. That means too much light is hitting the camera. And if I want to quantify, I lose the ability to do this because now the camera is saturating. And saturation is really only important if you need to do any quantification of your bands. When there's no saturation on the image, as we'll have here, if I just close the iris down a little more, on this image now I have no saturation. So if I capture the image, I know I can quantify everything that we're looking at. So to capture the image, I simply click on capture image and the image will be captured. And the UV light will turn off automatically. Again, that's an important element. So the UV is only on for as long as it's required. At the bottom down here, it tells us my image status. So the image was captured and it tells you my exposure time. I can now save my image and you just get your simple Windows save protocol where we can save the image as a TIFF, a JPEG or a bitmap file. Within the settings, we can actually tell the system to do auto saves. So we can save in any of those formats, but the system will save automatically and sequentially to a location that you can predefine. So if I save my TIFF file, let's just call this MB3, save my image, I get a message now saying it's been saved correctly. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice it now shows me my image path of where that image has been saved to. If I return back to my live view, the image will then become live again and I can capture my next image. So either open the door, put my next gel in. Also on the main screen, we have our extended dynamic range and our dynamic fielding options. Extended dynamic range essentially just increases the dynamic range of the camera, taking it from a 12-bit camera, 12-bit image to a 16-bit image. So it takes it from 4095 grayscales up to 65,535. It can be very useful if you're looking to quantify very small differences in DNA or on your sample from your image. And the dynamic fielding option is there. We only really use it when we're looking at visible proteins. And basically, you'll capture your image. It will then take a blank of the background and subtract. So we get a really nice, clean image this way. But I only ever do this if you're working with visible proteins. So again, I can capture my image, capture a second image. Again, the UV light will turn off automatically. Once we've captured our image, of course, I can save the image. I can print the image. And again, because it's running from a PC, you can print the image to wherever you wish. If the PC was on a network, you can print it to any local printer that you choose. Or, of course, you can run it from a local printer. For example, the Sony thermal printer that we provide. If you want to do any editing, at the top of the screen now, I can take us across to our image editing page. And on our image editing page, I can smooth my image, I can sharpen my image, I can make the image lighter, or I can make the image darker. And I can reset those back. I can also rotate the image. So if you haven't got it quite square on the from the live image, then you could rotate your image very, very easily. And again, if you make any changes, you can save your image. You may want to give it a slightly different file name so you recognize that something has happened. If you want to add some text to the image, then I can move over to the text icon and I can add any text I wish to the image. Simply click on add text and you see that I get a little text box appearing on my image now. And I can position that wherever you wish on your image. You can choose the color of your text. Let's get a nice bright one so that you can see that. And you can change the annotation size as well. But again, you can add multiple boxes. So if you are looking to annotate your gel, no problem. That's quick and easy to do. At the bottom now, we can save our image. So that will save the image just of the gel, or we can also export the image with the annotations included. So again, you have that now as an option to not only save your image itself, but you can export the image with any annotations added into it. So it kind of ingrains the label as part of the image. Should have said as well over here, we have some other options where we have a digital zoom, where we can zoom in post capture, either zoom in or zoom out and reset. Again, I have my saturation detection, and I also have the ability to invert my image as well. In terms of usability, in terms of function, that really covers all of the aspects. As I said at the start, what we wanted to do with the InGenius 5 was make the system as quick and easy to use as possible with software that requires very minimal training. What we've tried to do is add all of the functions that customers may require, but in a simple and easy to use platform. We're trying to make it quick and easy to use. So straight out of the box, you could be up and running capturing images. At the top of the screen, I can revert back to my home page, but I can also drop into our settings page. And the settings page, I have a number of options. So the home screen, I can get it to take me straight to the capture screen if you want to remove that initial home screen. We can set it in touch-friendly mode, and touch-friendly mode effectively removes the text on the box just with icons. So again, if you did want to use it on a touch screen, where you may be working on a smaller screen, no problem. The software will allow us to do this. I have our auto-save option down at the bottom. So again, if I want to save my images and then save them sequentially, I can set this up simply by activating the auto-save, give the file a default name, and then I can choose the location of where my image is to be saved to. Strobe compensation will depend on where you're working in the world. The majority of Europe will run on 50 Hertz, but if you are running on a 60 Hertz frequency, then you can change that in the hardware settings. More importantly is the UV safety override that I mentioned at the start. So if you are looking to do any band cutting, you would have to activate this in the software. And now that will give us the prompt saying, do you want to have the UV light turned on with the door open? But if that's not checked, then you cannot turn the UV light on with the door open. So again, we're trying to make it as safe as possible. And then also the final setting that we have is to enable the system to give us a save prompt. So if you haven't saved an image before moving to screen, the system will give you a little prompt to say, do you want to save your image? That's a real brief overview of the InGenius, but in terms of doing a demonstration, I've pretty much shown you everything the system can do. So again, any customer that's interested in this unit, the learning curve is very, very short. So again, straight out of the box, you can be up and imaging within minutes. There's no complex loading of software. The software is very easy to utilize. If you wanted to do any quantification of your bands, then no problem. I'll just stop sharing for a second. Yeah, if you want to do any quantification of your bands, that's absolutely no problem. We will provide every system with a full version of our GeneTools platform. And GeneTools will allow us to do gel analysis with molecular weights and quantities. We can do spot plots, slot plots, colony counting. It also has Western blot capability. Although this system cannot do Western blotting, maybe you might have colleagues that are working with Western blots. They could utilize the software as well, because the software is completely license free. There are no additional charges. It can be installed on any number of PCs within the Institute. So I've covered the hardware, I've covered the software. I'll just take a quick look now to see if there are any questions in the Q&A session. What I'm also going to do in the chat is I will add the launch presentation. I'll do that at the end of the meeting. I'll drop in the presentation so that any of you can see that it covers all of the features and benefits of the system, and hopefully I haven't missed anything out during this live webinar. So, oh, there we go. The launch presentation. Kirsty's already added that into there. Yeah, Nuria has a question there, which Lindsay's answered. Yeah, how do you position your gel? Do we use the white light? Absolutely. We can go live with the system with the white light. And because we're using white light, there's no risk. So we can turn on the white light and position the gel, no problem at all. Let me show you that live. So share the screen. Go back to capture. I'll turn on the upper white light. So if we turn on the white light, we can position our gel. Let me open up the iris a little bit. There we go. Or I could increase the exposure time. So we just position under a live image. We're all good to go. And then I can simply close the door. We're still capturing under white light. And then I can simply move back and now select our UV transilluminator. So very, very simple. I'm sorry, I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen there. My apologies. So let me show you that again. So if I want to go live with our white light, you'll see that we can position the gel manually utilizing the white light. My apologies. Let me just go back and see if there are any more questions from here. Anything in the Q&A? Nothing in the Q&A, nothing in the chat. If you have any questions at all outside of the presentation, then please feel free to drop us a line. One question that arose in yesterday's email was asking, is the current InGenius 3 still available? It is still available. We will be discontinuing the InGenius 3 around June of this year, and it will be replaced completely with the InGenius 5. We have that transition period purely for the fact that if there are any ongoing purchases or any ongoing tenders for the system, that we don't just turn it off overnight. But after June, everything will be moved over to the InGenius 5, and that we hope that it should be a relatively easy transition. As I say, what we've done is actually increase the capability of the InGenius 5 compared to the InGenius 3. And the price point is very, very similar. So we were very keen to maintain that similar price point, again, at the lower end of the marketplace. So yeah, as my colleagues have put in the chat, if any questions arise, please feel free to email us directly at sales@syngene.com, and we'd be happy to help with any questions that will arise. But if there are no more questions in the chat, then I thank you all for your attention, and hopefully this will be the first of many little webinars that we can do. But again, I wish you all a fantastic day. Take care. Thank you for joining. All the best. Bye now.